It started as a field trip and it ended with a teen in cuffs. A Michigan judge deciding to lay down the law when a 15-year-old fell asleep in his classroom. This story has a lot of people talking. ABC's Danny New has more.
It was a field trip that ended in handcuffs. A teenager visiting a Detroit courthouse with other students was soon clashing with the judge.
One thing you'll learn about my courtroom is that I am not a toy. I'm not to be played with.
Judge Kenneth King became visibly agitated when the 15-year-old repeatedly fell asleep.
You fall asleep in my courtroom one more time, I'm putting you in the back, understood?
The judge had her removed from court, but he says that failed to fix her, quote, attitude. So then he brought out a jail uniform and handcuffs.
That's not something that normally happens, but I felt compelled to do it because I didn't like the child's attitude.
He even threatened her with jail time to teach her a lesson about behavior.
I'm going to go to sleep tonight while you're sitting in the juvenile detention facility.
Was I really going to do that? Probably not. Could I have? Probably so. But that's not what I want to do to a kid who's there on a field trip.
Some claim the judge went too far.
Just totally inappropriate. There were so many other ways in which to have helped that young girl learn.
The nonprofit that hosted the field trip saying, quote, it's unfortunate that he chose to make an example of a 15-year-old girl in front of her peers. The young lady was traumatized. But the judge insists that discipline today can keep teens out of his courtroom tomorrow.
So that was my own version of scared straight.
All right, look, I'm just gonna sit here and say it like this, because we can't fall asleep in class. We get in trouble for that. You can't fall, like, if you want your kid to stay up, we get in trouble for that. But now we're saying that it's okay for a kid, if a judge tells you, hey, get up, wake up, because remember, they're on a field trip. So apparently he might have been instructing them, he might have been telling them, talking to them, whatever, what have you. And she's falling asleep on them. And he says, hey, can you not fall asleep in my courtroom? And you play me off to the left and start giggling in my face, you're being disrespectful. And it ain't like she was being disrespectful. So at that point, people who are disrespectful in the courtroom are held in contempt. They literally send your ass to the back if you're held in contempt of court.
Again, that's an overreach. He's doing too much. If it wasn't an issue, his ass would be champion for what he did, as opposed to having to take time off and go to training.
Nowadays, that's the reason why.
The parents ain't in charge of that system. The parents ain't in charge of the system.
Her parents ain't shit. That's the reason why.
I don't know her parents. I know they homeless though. So if you saying because they poor, they ain't shit, then that's your cross to bear.
Well,
I don't know.
Assume that you ain't shit. If
you say what?
If your kids is up in here in court laughing at judges like they ain't gonna do shit, I would say that they ain't shit.
Yeah, I don't know that girl parents to say that they ain't shit, but I do know what he did. I do know that interaction was beyond the scope of what should have been done, and I do know that that's a child. At the end of the day, that's not an adult.
I swear to God, it trips me out how quickly we put the child label on some people, and then we don't, and we pull it away from others.
All right, let me ask you this. If she was dating a grown man, is she a child?
Yes.
She a child then, bro.
But when did being children withhold you from being held accountable for your actions? He didn't say I'm putting you in real jail. He said you're going to juvenile. Ain't juvenile?
To threaten somebody with imprisonment because they fell asleep and you didn't like their attitude, that's crazy. That's the same.
What happens to people who give judges attitudes in a courtroom?
If they're on a case, that's a very
on a case. If you in a crowd and you being disrespectful to the judge, it doesn't matter whether you on a case, they hold the prosecutor in contempt when they acting a fool.
It's a difference between laughing at somebody. So essentially, the court stenographer, what is he gonna say why he locked her up, right? Giggle, defendant, giggle. He's not even a defendant. Spectator giggled, so he sent her to jail. Come on, bro, that's crazy.
All right, here's the part that trips me out with how you feel about this, Marcus. Just last week, you were pissed at Bruiser for a hypothetical.
Why you bringing all this shit up?
I'm not bringing, but I'm trying to help you understand like how this doesn't make any sense. He just gave you a hypothetical, and you was upset. So how is it that you don't see how? And what if he would have laughed at? What if he would have been like, "Man, bro, you tripping, man? You ain't like, come on, man. It ain't that serious." And he laughed it off. You would have been like,
That's that man's choice. If that's what he want to do, that's what he gonna do.
But
What can I do from here right now?
But you would have still took it as disrespect, right? If he laughed off how you felt about it, if he didn't apologize, if he looked at you and laughed it off, you would have been like, bro, that's disrespectful.
I'm not really trying to rehash it, but the initial reason that it was disrespectful was because I said, hey, this is my line, and he decided to just jump over that motherfucker because for whatever reason. We cool now, so it's not an issue, but I don't even see how that correlates to being in court and somebody falling asleep. Those two different things. One is somebody saying, hey, bro, I don't play like that. And then they saying, no, I'm going to play like that with you to see is the line existing. That's different than something.
I think that's the judge. After
you saying don't fall asleep. And I don't know if you ever been tired. How you know she can fucking stay awake?
There's a way to address that. Hey, Your Honor, I'm sorry, man. I've been tired. I apologize for falling asleep in your courtroom. Can I go outside the court? There's a way to address the judge. You don't laugh in their face.
It's possible.
But it's also a way to address the kid too, which is probably why the courts asked him to step down because it wasn't appropriate what he did.
So are we gonna say
just because he's a judge doesn't mean that he's able to justify how far he goes with a kid because they were disrespectful.
Are we gonna sit here and pretend like people don't come down on judges even when they do something, even when they don't do anything wrong? We just watched a teacher that just let some kids braid his hair, lose his job, and it was all because of public perception. So even though he may not have done anything inherently wrong, public perception cost him his job. So while we're gonna sit here and pretend like public perception can't cost a judge his job when you've got parents that are a little too sensitive,
what?
Never mind.
Hold tight, you guys. I'm gonna go to Casey real quick. Go ahead, Casey.
Sweeney, I don't know where you was going with that one, but that boy should have lost his job. I'm glad he lost his job. But back to the point, I actually agree with both of you guys. I'm a person who is hardcore when it comes to standard and protocol and setting the environment to what it's supposed to be and everybody like complying, right? But on the flip side, I agree with Marcus completely. That's a 16-year-old child. A 16-year-old child is going to be laughing, being silly. You have to know your audience, and a lot of it was based on maybe a standard that you would have for adults, but not for a 16-year-old child being silly, having an uncomfortable laugh when they're getting scolded. I think a simple fix could have been for the judge to ask the child to leave the courtroom. You are dismissed. You are no longer okay to stay in this environment with your class. You are dismissed. I don't care what your teacher says. I don't care if your parents are in the room. You are no longer welcome in my courtroom. And I think that would have been way more than enough to let them know that they crossed the line as far as disrespect of the court, as well as that judge personally. Just talking about this, I don't know who else may be Greek on the panel. I know Marcus and I are. And I think as old as I am now, it's a reason why I get respect. And a lot of people, a lot of my sorority sisters do not get respect because there's a way to demand respect and have a standard about what you expect from people and how you deal with people. There's a thin line that you can cross to be disrespectful to that person in order to demand respect from them. And some people get it, other people don't. That's why people go to jail for hazing. People cross that line saying, I'm gonna make you do X, Y, and Z. But the way you carry yourself and the way you talk to a person and the way you accept things and you don't accept things will make a person rise to the occasion and act accordingly if you talk to them in a certain way and you have a certain standard about yourself. It does not take humiliation for that. It does not take disrespect for that. It takes respect of yourself in your own environment and just recognizing that whoever comes into your space is going to act accordingly or they're not going to be in your space. Period. End of the story. So that just hearing that really, really spoke to me. It gave off power trip. It came off not knowing your audience, which the audience was, I'm sure that wasn't the only child in the audience. A 16-year-old is a child. It shows a lack of restraint. It also shows a lack of seriousness, because you can impart, or I should say embark on a child and put something in their brain that they're never going to forget, and they're always remember that and go back to that in a negative context. They're not going to say, oh, because of this situation, I'm going to be a better person. No, it's trauma for them. It's going to be something that they look and felt less than in that situation, and not something that they're going to use to empower them in the long run. So I understand what Sweeney's saying as far as having a standard and wanting that child to rise to the standard of the courtroom. But I also have to agree with Marcus in that you have to have a standard, but then you also have to know that you're dealing with a child, and a child's brain, the cognitive skills is not going to be the same as it would be with an adult. And I'll cut there.